My name is Mark Atherston. I'm one of the directors of a company called Ivanhoe Farming Company. We farm here in the KwaZulu-Natal Midlands, which is one of the provinces of South Africa. We farm a total of about 9,000 hectares. Of that we own about 7,000 and we lease another 2,000 from our neighbours. And that 9,000 hectares is basically split into two units. One of about 7,000 hectares and another unit some distance away of 2,000 hectares. These farms were originally bought by a Mr. Nicholson from England in 1958, and the farms are now owned by a family called Rolls, the Rolls family, who live in England but who are South Africans, and they have big farming interests in England as well. We still have two systems of planting. We do some of the crop with machine planting, some of the crop we still plant by hand, and the same with harvesting. Some of the crop we harvest with a machine, some we harvest by hand. And so we have quite a big labour force, because firstly for the harvesting and then for the sorting that goes on in the sheds. So at the peak potato season we're employing about 300 people. Our main enterprise is seed potatoes, which means we grow potato seed, which we then sell to other farmers who grow potatoes for the markets. We grow about 200 hectares of potatoes in total, about half on each farm. At the moment we're growing 7 different varieties. Some of those varieties would be for the commercial market for eating potatoes, some for the crisping market for potato crisps, and some would go to the French fry market. Each market requires a different variety of chips because they have different requirements for shape and size and frying quality.
My name is Alfred Theron. My application, I work for Potato Certification Service, and I'm a seed potato inspector.
What training do you get for this job?
Training?
Yeah.
Well, we have a 2-year or on-job training. We also have to have a degree or diploma in in agriculture or plant pathology with, or just in agriculture with plant pathology as a subject.
How is the inspection done?
Well, basically what we do is we come to the farm when they're ready. We take a sample out of about 25 bags. We look at about 3,000 tubers. We look for diseases that's on the tuber itself, rotten potatoes, scab, rhizoctonia, just a few things, dry rot, tuber moth. We work out a percentage after we've looked at about 3,000 potatoes, and from there we have tables to so that we can see what if they fall within the parameters that's allowed per generation. Basically, we've got parameters for, we've got different generations of seed potatoes, from base plants right to generation 8. Generation is how many times it's been planted. The parameters per disease or per thing that's wrong with your seed, you have a specific amount that is allowed. That's worked out by the government, and that we have to adhere to and apply. We also take a sample, a post-control sample, that's for virus testing, and also to test the variety true to type, so that to see if there's any mixing within the shed or somewhere else that has happened. That samples get sent to the laboratory, and there they get tested with ELISA tests to see if the virus results correlate with what we found earlier, and we do that per inspection. Okay, after that we go to the computer and print a report with everything that we found. The report has a variety on there, some of our information, and everything that we have found on the inspection itself. For instance, here we found a little bit of common scab, we found a little bit of dry rot, and also a bit of tuber moth. This has all the other information like the generation and also the tickets that we issued for them to put on the bags.
What is in the box?
Well, in the box we have the tickets that I just talked about. That's generation tickets. Each generation has a different color. The tickets has a unique number on them. These are G4 tickets, so that's generation 4. It has a unique number that's been put into the computer, and from this we can trace back to the specific potatoes.
As we employ quite a large labour force, most of those people do not live on the farm. They live in the neighbouring areas, and we bring them in every day. Most of those people would be women who live in rural areas. Many of their husbands would be away working in town, so they're very grateful for the work that they have because it helps to supplement their income. They're paid by the day, and the work that they do is often very strenuous. If they're picking potatoes by hand into baskets, it's very back-breaking work. In the sheds, they're lifting quite heavy pockets of potatoes, so the work is quite heavy. Perhaps you'll see that many of them have mud on their faces, different coloured mud, and the reason for that is to protect them from the sun. This is a cold store, and this is part of the production process for producing seed potatoes. We grow seed potatoes, which means we supply seed to other farmers for them to plant. Now, on our farm the seed is burnt off, or in other words the plant is killed in about January, and we only plant the potatoes again in September. So there's a long period between January and September where the potato is wanting to grow. So to inhibit the growth of the potato, we put it in this cold store, which maintains a temperature of between 3 and 4 degrees, and we hold the potatoes here, and so it causes the potato to go into dormancy. The potato thinks it's winter and it won't grow. It grows very slowly, and so we suppress the growth of the potato. And then in September, when we want to plant, we take it out of this cold store, we warm the potato up and we plant it, and then we get very vigorous growth because the potato thinks winter is over, now it's summer, now I must grow and I must reproduce. And so we get a very healthy, vigorous plant. Our beef herd, being a fairly large herd by South African standards, where we have 1,600 odd breeding cows, we keep a lot of the young bulls, and so we retain our own bulls, although we do bring in purebred stock from other breeders as well. We implement a system of trying to breed the animals at as young an age as possible. So we breed the heifers, the females, at just over 2 years for the first time, and we use 1-year-old bulls, very young bulls, on those heifers to try and improve the genetic potential of the herd as quickly as possible, because if one is improving the herd, the youngest animals should always be the best animals. So we try and bring in the young genes at as early an age as possible. Our beef herd consists of about 1,600 breeding cows, or a total of about 3,500 animals. Our basis of the herd is Red Angus. That's the breed that we breed, which is an English breed, British breed. And we sell off the young stock as weaners. Once they are weaned from their mothers, they are sent to a feedlot, who then fatten them and sell them to the slaughterhouse. Most of the male offspring, the steers, are sold when they are weaned from their mothers, and in order to make the weaning process as less traumatic as possible, we put a nose ring in the nose of the young animal, the calf, and that nose ring prevents the calf from suckling from its mother. You can see the little spikes on the nose ring, and that presses into the mother's udder. It irritates the mother, so she walks away, and so eventually the calf is weaned because he's unable to drink, but he's still with his mother all the time, so there is less stress on the cow and on the calf. Apart from beef and seed potatoes, we have a maize enterprise. We grow maize as a cash crop, and we sell that maize to our neighbour. We grow about 150 hectares of maize. We also have a small timber plantation of about 200 hectares, and that is mainly eucalyptus at the moment that we grow, and that goes for wood chipping, which is exported to Japan. In South Africa there's a huge demand for land, that many people who haven't had access to land are wanting to have land. Whether they actually want to farm it or just want some land to live on is debatable, but it's very important that the productive land in South Africa is retained and maintained as productive land, so that we can continue to feed the population. Because of the growing population not only in South Africa but throughout the world, our feeling is that there is a big future for agriculture in the next 10 years, and we're looking forward to many productive years.